All right, now we're going to talk about the abdomen a little bit. We've talked about the abdomen before, but a lot of people are confused about how to connect there, how to get connected to the abdomen. So, what I want to do is talk about that a little bit. We find a way to get connected to it. And one of the ways is for the female singers to go, oh, and that note is way down low. Oh, it goes into the crotch bones if you can get it down there. Oh, then for the upper note you go under. Oh, oh, and the voice sits connected to the abdomen. You'll hear singers like Nellie Melba. Nellie Melba recorded a voce que sapete from Marriage Figaro, and she sings it. You can listen to it yourself. Voi che sapete che cos'è l'amore? Like that. Oh. So that's something you decide. Rosa Poncel has a Suicidio from La Gioconda. She goes, in questi fieri momenti. They're all doing. There's a singer named Celestina Buoninsegna, made a huge career in Italy, and she, we used to call it clucking. She clucked all the time. In other words, getting the head voice. Remember, the third law of motion says that everything has an opposite equal reaction. Every action has equal opposite reaction. So if I want my voice to my head, one way to get it there is to go, oh. Now, some men have real beautiful falsettos, and I never did. So I sang the Bach Magnificat of the alto part back when I was young in college, but as an old geezer, not anymore. It's my 87th birthday. I think I should forget it with the oh, except to show somebody how to get the idea. Because what you want to do, if you take the mouthpiece off a clarinet and blow it, it just squeaks. But if you hook it up to that long air column, you could hear every theater in the world. It's true of all those instruments that depend on air. That famous Bach trumpet or that whatever is real short, really high, very high, and then you have a bigger one, a trumpet, normal, what we call a trumpet, and the air tubes are longer, so the sound's getting bigger. And they can have valves, so they can change the length of the air tube that the sound's going through. And from there you go to whatever French horn, trombone, euphonium, which is the baritone horn, and some people like me played the bass, the tuba. So, but the idea is that the bigger, for instance, the tuba, the marching tuba that I carried was a lightweight one. It weighed 22 pounds, sitting right here. Had that long air pipe, let's call it, and a great big bell on the top. That was to make that sound, that to make it carry. And but the odd thing about orchestral instruments is, or band instruments, you can hear the piccolo solo in the Rose Bowl when they do Star and Stripes Forever. And the basses, you'll have 22 basses and maybe one piccolo solo. Not to mention all the snare drums. The snare drums go rat-a-tat-tat-tat. You want a bigger sound, you got to get a bigger drum that's closed on the bottom. So we take the head off the snare drum that's that big and put it on a Congo drum, and it goes boom, boom, boom. So the deeper and bigger the air bucket or the air column, the richer the sound gets. We have violin, then we have viola, right? And they used to have something called viola d'amore, which was bigger, but somewhere between a viola and a real cello. And then you have the cello, which is so big that's got to sit on the floor, and of course the bass. So the idea is that by contacting the abdomen and letting your breath get that low, your diaphragm has room to balance, your intestines and everything move out of the way, and the diaphragm has room to go down like that, and it'll go down in your back like that when you breathe, really breathe like that, and that bigger. First of all, it's bigger sideways and deeper, so it's a bigger drum, makes a bigger sound, but it's also the length of this air tube that's getting increased, right? So that's why. Now the men do it, let's call it the opposite and equal. It's the opposite. The men do a falsetto attack, and attach it. I can attach it all the way down, let's say below my navel. There it is. I can attach it to my perineum. So the voice stays attached to the abdomen. And, they talk about abdominal connections and things like that. That's the way you do it. It's very simple. You go, but a minute, what kind of voice you have and how you're going to sing. And the countertenors, I can show quickly. The falsetto, the real falsetto leaks air. So I go, the minute I connect to the abdomen, the leaking breath stops. And if I do this, that's a different kind of falsetto, isn't it? It doesn't leak air. And that's why you teach countertenors. Countertenors go, so this is your best friend or your worst enemy if you can't stop leaking air. But we use this like crazy to help us identify leaking sounds and sounds that do not leak. They asked Adelina Patti, someone considered the only perfect singer that ever lived, natural singer, and so how do you sing? She said, don't sing breathy. Well, according to a classical singer, a little movement like pa, 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 that's breathy. The breath is leaking to make the P. Can I go pa, pa, pa? See? If I do that and I connect to the abdomen, I'll have a nice big round sound, and it'll go up and down. It's always down there, right? We've got the abdominal drop, which goes, oh, and I just let it go. In Germany they would say things like, 15 months pregnant with triplets. I know, but the idea is you let everything drop and everything hang down. And another bit of let's call it opera lore is that the more pregnant a female singer becomes, the bigger the voice, the better the voice, and the better she sings, and the better control she has. Because the baby is pulling everything down, and she starts sounding better and better and better because the air column is getting longer. So if I do these, let's see, if I drop this, now can I do a total drop and sing? Yes. And I do not have to walk around holding myself up like this all the time. And the more you get into the old bel canto era, you realize that even the word support was not used in Italy. And when I was in Italy, they still weren't using it. So I don't know if they changed. But support means to hold something up. If you support me, I lean on your shoulder. Well, you're supporting me. I'm the leaning on you. I'm not supporting you. You're supporting me. Because it's a lean that the Italians talk about. The Italians use the word appoggiare, which means to lean. Tetrazzini said in her book, you prop the breath up against your diaphragm the way you would lean a ladder against the wall. And gravity takes it. So I go, I lean it here. Now, where's the bottom of the ladder? Where's the bottom of the air column? It's way down in my lower back, and I breathe down there, and I go, and then I drop everything. That's the bottom of the ladder, and then the top ladder for control just leans over and sits right here. So I go, that's why you see some singers singing like this. They're controlling both stations, let's call them. Neither one of them is supposed to move. So sighing, S-I-G-H-I-N-G, became a very, very popular technique. It was used by some of the most famous singers in the world. Claudia Muzio, if you know that name, Claudia Muzio sighed, and so did Tito Schipa. And Tito Schipa was especially amazing because he had a very, very small, very light tenorino voice. And he sang in the biggest theaters in the world and never had any problems at all with his voice carrying and being heard and going through the orchestra and everything. And Benjamin Ogili, who was the greatest singer in the world during his era, during his history, excuse me, I'm going to upset them. I'm burping. Oh. But anyway, he said we must all bow down to the art of Tito Schipa, because Schipa was so incredibly, Schipa was so efficient at what he did. And he dropped his abdomen in a sigh. He'd breathe behind him, and then he would drop the sigh into the abdomen and go, see? So that's really basically what we have to say about the abdominal drop, and therefore we can include appoggio in this tape, because appoggio just means to lean. So I'm going to lean on the armchair, or the chair of this arm. Now that this thing is just holding me up, but it's not doing anything, I'm just leaning. If I lean on the wall, I'm just going to lean on the wall like that. I'm not pushing the wall. If I push the wall, I'm going to get an opposite and equal reaction, and guess what? It comes back at me like that. And that's the minute you push here, you're choking to death. You can't sing because it reacts. This is an opposite and equal reaction. The pressure using down here is also making an equal pressure up there. So you don't use pressure. And you drop everything. You let gravity take it. And gravity, when you drop everything lets go. How are you there? I've got to go downtown and get something to eat. The most beautiful name I ever heard. Maria, 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 Maria. You just let go of everything. And that is the abdominal drop, and it turns into something called appoggio, which means leaning. I'm literally leaning my breath on my crotch. I had a girl, I kept saying, you got to sing in your crotch, get in the crotch. And finally she said, something I don't understand. I said, what is she said? Why do you want me to sing on the crutch? I said, I think we got a mistake of the word. It's not crutch, it's crotch. She said, what is, she was from Iceland. She said, what is crotch? I said, when you wear your underwear, your panties look like that. That's the crotch. Oh, it's a beautiful, tall, contralto, redhead, hair after hair. And she went on to make a huge career in Germany. And she married a billionaire, an Italian, who owns half the land around Lake Como. So she's living in a castle on Lake Como and has a Rolls Royce with a chauffeur. All because she discovered that her crotch bones, that's the deepest place you can drop your breath. And you realize the drop. Now, some singers use the abdomen by pulling it in when they breathe. Caruso was one. A lot of the greatest singers in the world that I ever talked about it. They pull the abdomen in when they breathe down the lower back to increase compression. So I go, and Caruso said to do that, but he also said to do a contrary motion. Now, a contrary motion would be the opposite of that. If I raise my arms slowly and then bring my hands down quickly, that's not a contrary motion. A contrary motion is a mirror image of what I did when I made the motion. So that's what you do in the abdomen. You pull in the abdomen, breathe in, and then you let it out slowly. And it turns into, believe it or not, if you do it right, it turns into a really good legato. So I'm going to breathe in. And I'm just letting my abdomen out as the opposite and equal to what I did when I pulled it in. Caruso called that, in his book, contrary motion. Some people call it mirror image. But the point is, I'm going to pull it in, breathe way down my lower back, and go. Now I'm going to release the abdomen gradually to try to match the way I moved it when I was breathing. I dream of Genie with the light brown hair. You notice that my stomach is going like to my abdomen. It's going like this. One like a serpent on the morning air, I see her tripping where the bright daisies grow. And you just go, oh. It helps if you warm up, right? All right, so that's a good one. We have something called active respiration, but we'll do that in the next tape. Okay, there we go. Here we go.